Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Stephanie Griffin. I'm the Executive Director of Associated Chamber Music Players, ACMP, and we're absolutely thrilled to have two members of the Kronos Quartet with us today for this masterclass on their 50 for the Future repertoire. We're going to start with second violinist, John Sherba, right here. Hello, John.
Hi, I'm right here. Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
So he's going to coach the first group, and then later in the class, I'm going to admit the violist Hank Dutt, who will coach the other two pieces. So I am now going to start by. So is our quartet? Is the Kidjo quartet ready?
Yes, we're here. Ready.
Yes. So I'm going to. 1 second. And remove myself. So, Peter, would you like to introduce all the members of the quartet and let us know the title and something about the piece you're going to play for us today?
Sure. The piece we're playing is by Angélique Kidjo. She's extremely well known, has won many Grammys. And so we're playing two parts of a piece that's actually been arranged from her original composition. The first called YanYanKliYan Senamido, and the other one the same. There's just two sections, two movements, so to speak. Our quartet consists of Jonathan Wang, will be alternating first and second violin, Dunnell on cello, and Elliot Isaacson on viola, and I'm Peter Aupperle.
Great, so you're going to do two parts, it seems like, right?
Right, part one and part two.
Okay, you know what I would love to do, so how long do we have? We have until like about, was it 11:50? Is that what I thought?
I think 50 minutes total.
Yeah, 50 minutes. Just so we get a lot of time to talk, could we start with part two?
Sure, okay.
That's the one. Da 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 dee da 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 dum da 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 dum. That one.
Yeah, it's like one of them is more difficult or
Mhm.
something.
But I want to hear part two, and so great. I'm so happy you're doing these pieces. That's really fun for us, to hear other groups playing these and see how you interpret it too. Even what I always like to say is, even though you have all this material available for you on the internet, you can research, listen to Kidjo talk, Angélique, and also hear our performance of it, have all of the scores. Really make your own interpretation too. And that's the most important and fun element of playing any of these 50 for the Future pieces, is come up with your own interpretation like any piece that you play. So with that in mind, everybody can hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. With that in mind, what I'd love, how long have you been working on the piece, on this particular movement?
Maybe 4 or 5 rehearsals over.
Okay, that's good. And you
months.
haven't performed it yet or anything like that, or played for a little group or something?
No.
Not yet. Okay. What I'd love you to do is, because we don't have that much time and I want to hear you play, is just treat this as a performance. Treat it that you just walked out on a stage, sit down, and now you're going to play it as a performance. What happens. If there's errors, get back on in a way that the audience won't notice. So just play this piece all the way through, and then we'll just kind of sit and dissect and talk a little bit. Okay. Okay, good. A lot of really nice things. Good energy, all of that. Okay, so here's one of the basics things that I think you could work on a little bit, is that it always sounds dee-ding, 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 da-da, dee-ding, dee-da, da-da, dee-ding. It's like I'm hearing the beat. I'm hearing this too much. And actually, if you look carefully on some of the lines, the two violin lines, da 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 dee da 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 da, there are dashes on some of the notes, and it's almost as though the length is always the same. It's always dee 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 da da dun da da dun da dee da da dun da da. And so what's happening is after the whole piece, you're getting this happening: ding 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 ding, and after a while that gets a little boring. And so you could make a little bit longer length and make things a little bit smoother. Dee 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 da 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 dee dee, and go with a phrase, a much longer phrase. And I know it's hard to do because it's hard to stay together with this. And so kind of your initial reaction is to uh, and that gets kind of boring and a little very predictable. So let's start from the very top. Okay. Okay, good. Let's stop right here. Already that's much better. I mean, I think you kind of got the idea of not this kind of stuff happening. Have you ever tried the bum 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 just back and forth? And what it does is it gives it a little more length. It's very interesting when you do the downs. It's like I'd rather hear a little more length. Ding bum bum, beam bum bum, and it's kind of like uh. Uh. It's like a try back and forth, down, up, down. And let me just hear the opening viola. It sounds very good. The rhythm is good. Dee ding, dee ding. Just do your opening once of the viola line. Good. Actually, that sounds very good. I like the use of the bow and everything. Do it again and let's add the bum bum bum. That line with it. Yeah. What did you think about doing down, up, down? How did you feel about it?
I think it works. I mean, we sort of actually chose to do all down because I tried to make it more percussive.
Uh-huh.
I hear what you're saying as well. I think it makes
Yeah.
sense.
I kind of like the down, up, down. It gives it more breadth and more length and less of the uh.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because I know how you feel because a lot of this music, is kind of played on maybe sometimes a percussion, dee dee, where they're, like a marimba kind of a thing.
Right.
But what we have actually found out is when you hear those instruments, you strike it, right? But then what happens after the strike? It rings. Those instruments actually ring incredibly well. Bing, bing, bing. And so what I find with this, transferring it to a stringed instrument is that you don't want to lose the ring. You don't want to just get you want to get ding. You kind of want that bell, the bell sound. And I liked it when you did that. What else can I say? Let's see. Sounded really good. Keep going now. Started from the top again and keep going. Try that bowing. And well, here, I'll just throw this out. Since I play the inner voice line, I know your part really well. So I'm gonna kind of mention probably a lot of things at bar 14 where you come in with the da 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 dee da 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 dee dee with that simplicity. You want a real feel of simplicity. What fingering are you doing on that?
A second violin, I'm just in first position.
First position, so you're starting with the fourth finger?
Yeah.
Okay. I could swear I heard da da dee dee dee. Yeah. Was there any time you did a little slide? Dee da 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 da.
I think I did, yeah, further on at some point. The second
Further on.
finger.
Okay. It's certainly one way of doing it. Again, when you think of the concept of the simplicity of it and clarity, it's better to have not any slide, yeah, none of that in there, because it's all kind of striked. I would say that. And you know what the other thing you could do, it's almost as a balance. Could you do your pickups into 13?
Hmm.
I just want to see that.
Sure.
Okay, good. So obviously you've got some open E's in there, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Sounds good. I think with this music too, open strings are very, very good, are very good. I mean, a lot of times you hear, sometimes you've probably all heard there's a famous conductor and, during auditions, during auditions, if a violinist, no matter how great they sounded in the audition, if they played an open string out, that, I forgot which conductor it was, but if he heard an open string, you're out. That's it. This isn't this way. I mean, the idea of the open string, it kind of opens things up a little bit. And remember, since the first violin starts off primarily on the E string, right?
Hmm.
And you almost have to do an open string, and it sounds good. When the answer comes with the second violin, try it as an open rather than a fourth finger because it's also a balance issue too. It has to be more present. And if you have the presence of the open string, but don't make it sound twangy, a very beautiful open E string, da 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 dee da da dum. I think it'll balance better and it'll be more simple. And you can give it a go and just see what you think. But open strings are very interesting. It's a very, I know some people don't like them, but there's certain music for simplicity, and open strings can sound very, very beautiful, especially if you use the bow right. If you don't get a twang with the open string. And sometimes they can be very dramatic. Here's another, speaking of older music, I went to, you probably all know Milstein. You're from an older generation, and some of you are. And do you know Milstein?
Yes.
Yeah, everybody's unbelievable. But I went to one of his recitals. This is speaking about E strings, and he was doing the Kreutzer. And there's a famous passage in the Kreutzer where it goes da dee da dee da dee ba dum ba deem, and it happens several times within that movement. And all of a sudden, the last reiteration of it, da dee, he went dayam, he went D sharp and he used an open E. And it just sounded incredible. It gave the third part of it a different character. It gave it this intensity that you could never get if you covered the note, and it was kind of like an eye opener. He used a lot of open strings actually. In fact, he would do scales where where he's doing like an A major scale. He would actually, when he gets to the E string, when he gets to the harmonic E on the E string, rather than doing a third finger or shifting there, he actually did it as a harmonic. He'd do it as a harmonic and then shift from the harmonic E to an F sharp, the next note. So it would go da-dum, da-dum. I mean, there's something very open about it. And of course, the way he used the bow while doing that made the whole thing work. So the whole point in this music is don't shy away from open strings. They can really be your friend in this particular movement and piece. So do it from the begin. And remember, another reason for the open string is how do you start the two violins? You have to do open E and open A. So you've set up this color. So kind of keep that color, I would say. Okay, start it again and try some of those things. And remember, always da 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 dee da 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 da. So sometimes you go to the beat da da dee da 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 da, and other times you don't. So it's like any music. There's a longer phrase, an arch. Okay, try it one more time. It's sounding really good though. Hey, let's stop here. Oh, that's really good. I mean, some really nice things are happening. Is it a little more fun with the open E strings too? There's
Definitely,
something,
yeah.
yeah, you can kind of get involved with that color a little bit and kind of play with it. It's kind of it's an open, it opens things up. It opens the things up. Now what I'm wondering is maybe we open things up a little too much. So I don't really have the dynamic when you do the pickup into 13, what is that official dynamic?
Mezzo piano. Yeah.
Yeah. And then second violin, mezzo piano. And then there's some mezzo forte, I think at 24, and then it gets to the forte at 27. And what I would say just generally, remember at the beginning we talked about how it was kind of getting that kind of thing, and it gets predictable. You're getting rid of that. You made a big change. It's really great. As I hear a longer line and I hear less beady, as though it seems easier. You're tossing it off more. You're tossing it off more. But now what's happening is all the dynamics are flat. They're all kind of too much the same, a little bit. So when you get to that mezzo piano, more playful and softer, really do a bigger drop in the dynamic. Um, have you ever tried those figures, da 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 dee da da, a little bit more towards the tip? You could experiment with that and might make it a little bit lighter. And so you're kind of da da dee 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 dee, a little more towards the tip, because if you get stuck down here, it might get a little heavier feeling. Okay, so dynamics, that would be, one thing definitely to think about. And let's see, your dynamic at the opening, is that forte?
Forte.
Yeah, okay, that's good. I think that's a good forte. Make sure it's a good forte. And so mezzo piano is much, much softer and just a more hushed, playful kind of a character. Let's see, how are we doing with do you have dotted quarter equals 104?
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you doing? Does anybody have a metronome there?
I do, yep.
Just check it. Let's see where we are. Because sometimes with this,
Slightly under, but
I don't think you're much. You're pretty close. It's a little bit, and I think that little bit makes you lose a little playfulness with it. I think if it's around more closer to 104, you can almost feel it in a in a big two almost, which is good. So try the whole thing again, more dynamics. Try and up the tempo. See what happens. Okay. Okay, good. Let's stop here. Good. I like that dynamic much more. What it is, there's more interest for the audience now. Because the thing you have to be really careful, I think, with this piece is that, oh, it's all sounding the same and it gets boring. And it's not boring. There's a lot of really intricate stuff happening and interplay and dynamic shape too. And when you get all of that going for the audience, it just becomes much more engaging. That was really good. Let's see, what else can I say? It's sounding really good. Here's something really examine carefully in your music. Every time there's a dash on a note, um, I mean, sometimes you see dots, right? I mean, we never do I mean, we should, the more I think about it, we should take those dots out, you know, and I love the way you're doing it. It's a very da 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 da, and I like that. But occasionally you have dashes, right? Da 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 dee da 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 dee dee da 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 dun 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 da dee da 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 dun dun. And what I would do is a good example is 27. Dee dee da dee da dum. There's a dash like on that note A off the second big beat. And it's really, and that's a place where it's very easy to get going. Dee dee da dee da dee da da dum. And it's dee dee da dee da dum. Some values are quarters, full quarters, and some values are eighth. And if you make the value of the quarter note a really full quarter note, which is why there's a dash on it. So you could connect dee dee da dee da dum da dee da dum, connect it there. You'll lose kind of the you'll lose that feeling. Okay, that's good. It's sounding good. You know, that's kind of where a lot of you really hear when you don't do the dashes around 27. Maybe we could pick up there. Um, Cello part's sounding good. It's sounding good. It's hard to tell a little bit with the balance because of the whole the zoom thing. Does everybody hear the cello well enough?
Yes.
Okay. You're the bass line. You control it all basically. If you want to be louder, just from where I am sitting in this Zoom space halfway across the country, I could picture you maybe being a little bit louder throughout it. Because you're the driver. You're the driver of this. Let's take it from, let's see, 26, run 26, and really, when you see a dash, connect it to the next note. Da dee da dum. In other words, if you'd sing it, you wouldn't go da dee da dee da da dum. If you sing it that way, it's almost as though, oh, I'm taking a breath there. Da dee da dee da da, like that. And if you sing it, da dee da dum ba da dum, it's like any other music, really very vocal, especially this music. So do bar 26. Okay, good. Let's stop here. That's great. Examining those dashes, you did that, and it made a much longer line, a longer phrase, and it was more singing. I really liked a lot of that. Here's another example when the viola, the second violin, has dee da da dum. Make sure you don't hit dee-da, because, you know, the cello, when you think about it, the cello line is supplying all of those downbeats, right? So there's no reason for you to make a big deal at dee-da, no reason to show the audience in your two parts that downbeat. The cello is going to be giving it to everybody in the audience. So you could be more vocal, dee-da-da-dum. You'd never go dee-da, You know, that sounds angular. And that's another good thing. In this music, you don't want it to sound angular. And you know, when you first ran through it, that was kind of that would be my main point. It sounded too angular, and I think it was becoming angular because it's really hard rhythmically with that really complex cello line. And so, you know, when there's a complex part, a person tends to kind of get like this and feel at this pulse that's like that. And so never think angular. Dee da da dum, dee da da dum. It's never dee da and it's hard coming in on that. I know, you know, that pickup. And here's an example: 43, 44. The pickup into 45. That's hard to come in exactly together with that, with the cello line and everything. But think more songful, dee da dee dee, and that there's this simplicity to it. But it was sounding really good. Those dashes sounded terrific. If you wanted to, I think everybody, when it comes back at 31, 32, 33, it kind of comes back after the fortissimo. You could get it. I thought you could have been a little softer. You know, really take those soft ones down even more, a little bit, and more playful, that kind of stuff. Let's see. We covered a lot actually, and it's sounding really good. You know, another thing we could talk about, it's kind of has nothing to do with this piece, because it has something to do with every piece ever written. And that's kind of quartet movement. You know, quartet movement, you know, sometimes, you know, we in our quartet, we always use this analogy. You've all been to baseball games, and on baseball games, sometimes they have something, at least in San Francisco they do, they have something called bobblehead day. Does everybody know what a bobblehead is? Yeah, it's this wiry thing, and it's going, it's kind of, you push it, it goes like that, just like that, in a really relaxed kind of way. And it's, you know, this is always happening. And we always like to think of the quartet that you're four bobbleheads. And if, you know, if you have to play with somebody else, you go like this, and the bobblehead just kind of naturally, very relaxed, it just kind of goes there. And so basically, in kind of the midsection, there's got to be this kind of looseness in here. You know, they always, one of the big exercises they make people do and they say is really good for you is just this basic motion, right? That's a great exercise. And in a quartet, people don't think about this motion that much, you know, and that's a really important motion. You know, and I'm not saying, you know, be, you know, dancing around and moving on it. Sometimes that can get in the way, but it's a very relaxed, subtle motion where things are kind of going this way. So if you have to move in, you know, if the first violin has this something with the second violin, it kind of moves in this way, and in a relaxed way, like a bobblehead. You just go like that, and it just kind of goes like that. It's not like going like that and pushing. And so what I would say is in the midsection, just as a quartet player who's sitting, you know, have kind of that, you know, a real elasticity there, so you can move into somebody else. And you know, what happens what's inevitably happens in a quartet is somebody gets off, right? And so you have to bring them in, and you have to bring them in a way that's very subtle, so the audience doesn't pick up somebody's off, right? You don't want to go like that and stare in their face. And if you have kind of that bobblehead atmosphere, you can kind of go in kind of a reassuring way, here I am. that kind of a thing. So it's just, it's just something generally to kind of think about. It's kind of that movement a little bit that's going like this, but very, very relaxed and nothing overdone or anything. And, we always talk about sitting, on the top of the chair with the feet firmly planted down and then, just having this elasticity and then kind of a bounce with the rhythm, a bounce with the rhythm. And this is again a quartet thing. What we always think of, especially with complex rhythms, is as though there's a heartbeat right in the middle of the quartet. And the heartbeat, there's your beat, and it's just going there. And if you ever feel, oh, I'm getting off the beat, kind of there's this reassuring heartbeat in the middle of the quartet. So you have to use all kind of imagination to play this music, because it's hard. It's easy, but yet it's hard all at the same time. So, that would be just one thing I would say generally, the physical movement, it could be a little bit looser kind of a thing. Okay, it's sounding good. So now it is 11:43, so we have 7 minutes. Do you want to play the other movement?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, because I think we covered kind of the basic stuff in this movement. And so it's mainly having to do with examine those dashes, dynamics, and all of that stuff. Okay. Now I haven't heard this other movement in a long time. Do you want to play it through again and just do it as a performance?
Sure, sure.
Okay, let's do that. I have another sorry, I love to talk. There's another bobblehead image I have for you, because a bobblehead is loose, right? It's really loose. And speaking of looseness, I love to go to YouTube and watch all the violinists. It's a great way to keep learning and finding new things and new approaches and, what they do and what they don't. And there's a very famous story about Heifetz, that one of his students in one of his master classes, Heifetz was playing, and the student said he was so loose, and you kind of think as Heifetz, all this energy, and so there'd be a hint of attention, but they said he was so loose. They said that the student said that he felt that if he went like this to Heifetz's bow arm, like that, he would drop the bow. And yeah, so looseness is really a great thing. Okay. All right. Good job. Good job. I noticed some of those open E's. That was good. Okay. That was good. Just one basic thing. What's the tempo of this one?
102 for the
102. Were you doing 102? I've da da da
a
dee.
little less.
Yeah. I think this piece would be good at 102. Da 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 dee da dee. It'll sound more joyous, I think, at the 102 tempo. Let's hear 102. Da 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 dee da dee. Da 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 dee da dee.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there'll be a little bit more joyous feeling to it. Okay, it was good. Um, let's see, I was gonna say, um, the use of vibrato. I think because it was slower. Da 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 dee da dee. Da 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 dee da. If you'd sing it, it's very simple. Da 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 dee da dee. Da 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 dee da dee. You wouldn't go da 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 dee da dee. Dee 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 dee. You probably wouldn't do that. And I mean, my only kind of two main criticisms is it was slow, and the use of the vibrato, it kind of brought it into a place that it's not supposed to be. It kind of brought it into a little Haydn-esque, a little Austria in there, which is very easy to have happen. And that's what you want to get away from. Because again, a hit instrument, dun 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 dun, it's not gonna be, just as a practice, could you start it again, do it a little bit faster? We don't have much time, it's 11:50. But and do the whole thing without any vibrato and make the sound totally in the bow. If you do no vibrato, you have to, really work the bow more, and make the bow do the ringing and all of that. Just do a line because we don't have much time. Let's see. With just no vibrato at all, and just see what happens, and really think faster, and the bow making this sound. Yeah, I mean, what did you think about that? Because, you can debate it. You don't necessarily have to, but it took it out of Europe a little bit to me. And I think that's where it can't be in Europe. And it's easy to have it go, no, 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 ding, dun, ding, and it can sound very beautiful that way. But I actually prefer it's more simple a little bit. And, I want to also tell you your pitch is good, because the hard, it always comes down to, these pieces always come down to pitch. It's very hard to play this music in tune. And what we do too is that, we'll do have a drone happening, and all of this, and then you play with the drone and really try and get it. But it's funny because finally, after you get all the rhythms down and you get the character, then you're kind of left, I tell you, you're left with pitch. And pitch, people look at the page and they think, oh, this is easy. And actually, again, to really play this really beautifully in tune, and they do, like Angélique Kidjo, her pitch. If you listen to her sing, man, you don't even think about pitch. But when you sit back and think about her pitch, you have to marvel at it, And that's the best kind of pitch, is when you don't think about it. But your pitch, I want to congratulate you. It's very, very good. Very good. But, you can always go back and tune things up and that kind of stuff. So great job. I had a good time. Yeah.
Thank
And I
you.
guess,
Thank you.
I guess there'll be a question and answer later, and any questions you have, then you just throw them at me. Okay.
Yes, there will be a question and answer later. I want to say congratulations to Peter, Jonathan, and
Yeah.
Isaac. That was beautiful. One round of virtual applause.
Yeah.
Thank you, John. So you'll come back for the Q&A and
125.
125-ish if you want to come.
Okay. And so what I should do now is press the button that says stop video.
Yeah, you can just stop your video and mute yourself and stay in the meeting. And I am now.
Yeah. So I press that button, stop video, and then I press the mute button.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. I'll do that, and I'll just leave it here. And then when I come back at 125, I press those two buttons again.
Yes.
And it goes on. Good. Okay. Thanks.
Hello, Hank.
See you later.
Yes, I am now. Hank is here. Hank Dutt, my fellow violist. And I'm now going to ask the Architect Quartet to unmute. And the Architect Quartet, there they are. And I'm going to spotlight you. So we have, I was very excited when I was communicating with Sarah Donahue from the Kronos Quartet. She told me if you have any saxophonists available, we have a saxophone transcription of Sunjata's Time by Diabaté. So I'm very excited. We have a group from Florida here. I'm going to remove my spotlight. I'm going to ask Gavin if you could please introduce the members of the group and the piece you're about to play.
Hi, I'm Gavin Martellotti, and we are the Architects Quartet. So I'm Gavin, and on tenor saxophone is Jack Beatenhead, and on baritone saxophone is Kedrick Adams, and on saxophone is Ruben Gedlaman. And some of us are current students at UNF, and some of us are graduated students from UNF. And so we play in this quartet like kind of extracurricularly. And we're going to be doing movement 5. I think we're good to go.
And the name of the piece?
Oh, yes. Sunjata's Time.
Barakalata.
Barakalata. Yeah.
By Fodé Lassana Diabaté.
Yes. By Diabaté. Cool. Oh.
Hank,
Oh.
you're muted. If you could please.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, great job. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thanks.
And I think it really works. I think it works really well on saxophone.
Yeah.
There was another group that played it. I can't remember where it was, but it was really lovely. And so it's a really charming work, isn't it? I find it's very effervescent and lovely. Um, there are a few issues I was going to ask you about. Um, there are a couple notes that don't sound right in the transcription for me, but I will get to that, I think, a little later. But I was wondering in the beginning, it's like an intro. If you can think of when it comes back at 5, do you see? If you can start over, and it almost seemed like it was a run-on sentence. So could you do the beginning again and then trade off when go, I guess, is it Kedrick
Oh,
starts it?
Kedrick.
Is that right?
Yeah, Kedrick.
Kedrick, yeah.
Yep.
You do you start it?
Yes.
Yeah, and so then trade it off and move to each other as you do it. And I think that will be more exciting as you see it going around the group. Um, and then when Gavin, you have it play the most. They start out, maybe you can grow and then have it and then come back, have sort of one of these.
Okay.
Do you want to try the beginning for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Good, good. Do it one more time. And Kedrick, don't play at 5 too early. You can take a hair more time, okay? And then at the last note at 8, be a little longer because you've ended that section, okay?
Gotcha.
Try one more time, please. Good. I think that works better. There was a real nice phrase happening. And then this is completely different. Da 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 dee. You can almost be rubato-ish rather than da 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 dee da da dee, but da 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 dee. Da 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 dee da dee da da dee da dee da da. And then also, I was wondering, Gavin, if you have a lovely sound, and I was wondering if you could use a little less vibrato, just a little less, so that it sounds a little more African.
Okay.
And he's. Have you heard the original by any chance? Have you guys listened to him play it?
Oh, I
I'm
haven't
sorry.
heard him play it. On the balafone? Is that
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It is. It's a balafone. It's like a xylophone, and it's really beautiful. And because he hits it, and it's a wooden um, mallet and wooden um, tones, that it's just really lovely and effervescent. But there is really no vibrato with it. But if you do a little vibrato, that's fine. But don't do a lot and be charming. And that's your main goal, is to be charming and effervescent. So let's just go on with maybe do the last phrase at 5. Is that cool?
Yeah. All right.
Oh, and one more thing. I'm sorry. Is it Ruben that you have the second or the third grouping
Yes. Yes.
in the beginning?
hmm
So if you could do this or I know it's a very weird because you have an extra beat in there, that first bar. It seems like it's da 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 da. It would be good is if there is a crescendo into the second bar, so it seems like it doesn't go flat. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Can you
see.
try that once? So it doesn't sound da da dee da 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 dee da da dee. You see what I'm saying? Could you try that once again, please?
Sure. Yeah. We just start from 5 or the beginning.
Do you want us to start from 5?
Do the beginning. Do the beginning. Beginning. That was better. That was better. It's very odd. I always feel that it's that has an extra beat in the beginning, and that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it should be kind of like the second time, but you want the phrase to keep going. So, but that was much better having the crescendo go throughout, get to the downbeat, and then second, is it Ruben? You take over on the second bar. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it, I think it's Jack, you have to crescendo the end of your fifth bar. I mean, the first bar in the 5/4. Okay, good. Let's go on. Let's do the beginning again and then going on, and then Jack can take over at 9. Okay. Good. That was really good. I like that, Gavin. I like. There's something that what you do there's a turn at 11. Could you tell me what your notes are there?
I have a grace note at 11. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I have a
And
concert.
maybe.
Oh, you're right. I was playing a concert B instead of a B flat.
Yeah, good.
Oh, well, actually, no. I have a concert B written.
Yeah, I think it is B, but it's funny how I don't. It does. Could you just play that for me at 10?
Yeah.
Good. That was it. And maybe it's because of the zoom that I don't hear the C very well, but the C is very, very important. If I don't hear that, the melody doesn't work. But that was great. You probably did that, but just maybe the Zoom audio is funny. But I really liked what you did before. I think and I like the beginning sounds much better. It sounds much more going up and then going down and then ending and going up and then going down, and then you take it over. It's just a little introduction and then you take it over. And I like your jazz feel. Da 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 dee da dee da 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 dee da da da. That's very nice. So do you want to do da 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 dee? You want to do that right there? 9.
9.
Good. So good. It's very nice, really nice. And I was wondering, when you do da 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 da, if you can have a little more length on the concert C at 10. So da 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 ding, da 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 dee da dee, rather da 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 dee da 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 dee da dee da. It gives you the tonality or the harmony that you're getting if you do that. A little more length on it, rather than da 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 dee da 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 dee da dee da. And then make sure your downbeats are together, guys. Be careful, because if they're not, it's going to be harder for Gavin to play with you. Can I just hear the lower strings? Or the lower strings. Sorry. The lower voice, or the 3 lower voices. Play at 12 for me.
Yeah, I play on B3. Oh, heard. Okay. Well, yeah.
That's great. That's great. And so if you can keep the beat and let Gavin get into your thing, don't try to follow him. Let him follow you guys. Keep that steady. And then also, just for the sake of, I know you have da, 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 realize it's 3 against 1 in Gavin. So don't play too hot because he has to continue the phrase da, 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 dee, dee, da, da, dee, da. He has to go even farther to 13 in his phrasing. If you're too hot, then he is left smaller. You see what I'm saying? So really blend him in with him at 12. Can we start at 10? Is that good?
Yep.
Or do you want to do your run up? Da 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 dee da da da. Do that. Yeah.
Sorry.
Good, good. No, that's good. And really nice. It was more in the pocket, I think now, Gavin, didn't you think?
Yeah.
It was like, and you have to be really, really careful that like even at, there was one place, 20, you were just a hair, I think you were just a hair off the da-da-da-da-dee. Make sure you're right with on the 3rd beat with, who's the bass? Kedrick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so be careful, be right with them. But very nice. I like that a lot. And if you, it's a little still too, maybe it's the audio of the Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like 12 is a little too hot in the rest of you guys against Gavin. So be careful, be careful. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to play out, but don't be overshadowing because he has to continue it. Do it one more time and then we can go on.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is sounding good at 11, Gavin. It's sounding really, the right pitches are I'm hearing now, so that's good.
Okay. Nice.
All right. Gavin, it sounds funny, the second beat of the 11 again. Could you play that for me?
Okay, yeah.
That's it. I think you're doing a different note there. But
Okay.
one more time.
From 10, yeah.
Sorry. That was really nice. I like it. And that was right at 11. Thank you, Gavin.
Yep.
Who is doing the offbeats? Is it Jack?
Yes.
That's my part in the thing. So I realize it's really weird, that you can never play on the beat, but it's almost something that you have to make sure that you're not too early, and also you're not too late. Sometimes the fourth one in the bar is a little on the late side,
Okay.
but sometimes in the beginning of the bar it's a little early, and if it's early, then it throws the rhythm off. Dun, dun, dun. And it almost has to be thrown away and not made too pronounced. You know what I mean? It's part of this whole rhythmic pattern, and if it's in the right place, it's just perfect. But if it's a little off, and it's like oh, you're just a little off kilter. There is one part, especially at 56, Gavin plays da 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 da, and he goes da da ba da da ba da da. That's what it should sound like, and now it's not sounding that way. So, and also, Gavin, one other thing, just for your sake, what is really kind of cool if you can, in your phrasing, we go da 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 dee da 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 da. You don't have da 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 dee da 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 da. I think it's nice to just be more simple. Go with the line down, but be real precise. Da 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 dee da da dee da da da. I think that sounds a little more charming. Okay. And so could you practice 56 for me? So just count off 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1. Da da be da da be da da ba. Okay, everybody.
Like, you want us to count it, or you want us to start it?
I want you to count the 4 off. Play 4. I mean, count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then play 56.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So you should be, Gavin, you should be da 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 da, not da ba dee ba. Okay, one more time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Good. It's almost like da 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 da. A little faster on the A, or get to the A a little sooner. Okay. One more time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There you go. That's cool. That's great, because then it fits the texture or the rhythm. Da 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 da. Do it a little before that. Could you do what's good for you? 50? Is that good?
53 works good. We can do 49.
53? Okay.
Okay.
Whatever. Just
53?
50. Okay.
You can start.
okay. That's much better. That's really great, because then you're not playing against or off of the rhythm. You're getting into the rhythm and being a part of the texture. I think that's really nice. It happens again. It happens even at 52. You do it there, but excellent. Could you go back to like 49 for me? 49, and then go on. Okay. Good. It's much better. It's getting there. Sometimes it was really, really great. Sometimes it was still a little off, but it was in the right direction. And I think it's just, Jack, sometimes your hair early on that, you just make sure you're in it, always even there. One more time, and then we can go on. Okay. It's really charming.
49?
49, yeah.
Yeah. That was, I think it was a lot better. It was really getting there. You know, a couple of times, your first Gavin was a little, dot, you did duplets again, but you got it later. Now, I think this one thing in 65, you're a hair early, Gavin, off of 2. So be careful, okay? I know it's very weird because Kedrick has the triplet quarter. And so listen, make sure that he plays the third beat well. You have to be together on the third beat. Okay? Think of the third beat as where you want to be going. Okay? You want to do a little before that? How about the third beat of 61?
Third beat 61. Okay.
That was so much better. So much better. If you think of the third beat and land on that together, it works. Yeah. Do it one more time and get comfortable. Yeah, yeah. And make sure you don't get off in 68, but it's good. Okay, one more time. That was good. That's good. You can go. All
right, yeah.
I like that. You're more together. Isn't that fun when you're together?
Yeah.
Do you want to do the double bar?
Yeah. 69.
Oh, are we there yet? I'm sorry. Where were we?
Yeah, 69.
Yeah, 69.
69. Okay, good. Right there. Good. It sounds really pretty good. Now, sometimes you guys are not together on your beats. And I think sometimes it's a little on the early side for me. So whoever's early, just be a little later and just feel in the groove. And make sure, Gavin, you don't rest too much before entering. Just be in that groove. Can you do the same place, please?
Yep.
69.
So I'm trying to like simplify triplets.
And really, it's lovely when you go, it's really like clockwork. And he's like, it's like perfect in rhythm. One more time. Sorry. It gets a little askew, and Gavin, you have to make sure that you always are feeling the 1 and 3 very, very well against. And I think Kedrick is really doing it. And also Jack. Is that right?
So Ruben always has 1 and 3 with me.
Ruben. Okay.
One.
Yeah, just make sure you follow that 1 and 3, and then fit in the da 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 just that you, because that's it. It would be nice if it's not 1, 2, dun, 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 dun. If it's in a 2, it'd be much better. But that was really nice. It's getting very much more charming. And if you guys, when you have the beats, just make sure you have a little more contact or move. Sometimes peripherally, if you can see how a person's going to play or where they're going to play, you can move together and you don't have to look straight at them. Is that cool?
Yep.
It sounds much better. Now, is there another place, or how much time do we have left?
I think we have 50 minutes.
2 minutes.
Okay,
Oh, how much?
Well, we started at 2:55, so whenever.
Oh, so how much more? Okay, good. So where were we?
Like 116.
Yeah.
Good. I wanted to say one more thing. When you do at 104 and 5, Gavin, da 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 dee da dee da. If you can have that C a little longer feel, because you've been going da 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 dee da da da, da 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 dee, that kind of thing. Da 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 dee da dee da 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 dee da da, and then it comes back to a little different kind of feel, rather da 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 dee da dee da. Okay, just a little more lyrical, but then go to the C. Could we do maybe 99? Pick up to 99. Is that cool?
Yep. Do you have a pickup on 99?
I have a pickup.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll cue the downbeat.
Good. That was nice. Gavin, make sure when you first start doing that, where was it? Where would you start at?
When do I come back in?
Yeah, when you actually it was, excuse me, it was at, I just lost it. Darn it.
Was it 108?
Sorry. Yeah, when you start when that was just a hair on the late side. You've got to feel that third beat right with those guys. If you're a little late on the second beat, then it loses you're dragging it. And I think it's probably harder for them to keep together if you're just on the slower side there. Darn it. Let me see. Just messed up my score. Oh, jeez. Could you start at the same place and then I'll just point it out?
Okay. Gibson 99.
totally better. Totally better. That was, you felt the third beat really well together. And it's nice when you guys are moving on that third beat. Maybe it's a little different than the downbeat. It's almost like a sway. I just want to say one thing about the ending. If I know that there is a lot of notes for that and of one on the bump ding, and we always felt that it should be bump. The downbeat is a little stronger, so it isn't bump bop, but bump ding, like it's a result of the downbeat. So whoever plays on the downbeat, can they play a little stronger? And the ones that play on the second beat, just play like you played the downbeat, bump ding, like that. Then it sounds a little more charming. Can you do the 136, the third beat?
Yep.
Oh, and also, Gavin, I really like now the C. It's much better.
Okay.
Da da dee da 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 da. Lovely. So do it again. Good. And if you can slow down even more, so da da dee da 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 dee da ba da 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 dee dee da da dee da ba. Something like that.
That beat one of the last measure, or just the and of one?
Just the end.
Okay, so then Ruben, do you want to cue beat one of that? Sure. Okay.
I wonder if we lost him.
It did go from 40 people to 37, so.
Hello. I don't know where Hank is. While we're waiting for Hank, do you guys? Oh, there's Hank. Here he is. Okay, great. Oh, Hank, if you could please unmute, that would be great.
I didn't hear her.
Yeah, thank you. I went offline for a second. I'm sorry. New technology for me. Do you mind? Can we just possibly do 136 to the end?
Yeah. Let's try and beat 3. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. I like that. Good. It makes it more charming, and it also makes it more of an ending. Excellent. I really enjoyed this, you guys. Are you having fun?
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, certainly. Thanks for all your hard work. I appreciate it. And I guess there's going to be questions later if you want to join.
Yes.
Is that right?
Okay.
So I think we're scheduled to start the next group at 3:45. So actually, if the group has any questions for Hank, or if anyone in the room has any questions about this particular piece, we could do that now.
Maybe. Do any questions?
Any questions about the piece,
Or
or
like as a, our baritone saxophonist is also a composer.
Oh wow!
Oh,
yeah. Well, I had actually some ensemble questions. Do you have any methods of exercising, like cueing and feeling time together without needing to cue every beat? Because sometimes I feel like it would be nice if we didn't have to like move every beat. And surely there's a way to develop that like internal sense.
totally. I understand what you're saying, and it's as one gets used to everybody's movement. I mean, it's nice if there is some movement.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I don't like it when someone's doing so much on stage that it gets like you're seasick, after a while. That's a little too much for me. But it should always be in the music. I think the character should always portray that. So if it's within the confines of what you're trying to portray character-wise, I think the movement is fine. But it can also, I mean, I've seen people who are very subtle in their cues. It's almost like an eyebrow, or a little nod in this. And it depends on, if you work together a lot, you can find those ways of playing with another person, and it makes sense. When for us, being a string player, you naturally see your bow moving. And so there is a movement that when you guys just have this, and so you can't, so you almost have to do something, I understand, or this. So, and also the cellist usually in a group, they use their head quite a lot in cueing, and that helps. We more use the scroll, in doing something like that. But so everybody's a little different, but it should be natural. It shouldn't be unnatural when you cue. And I know it's so repetitive here, but it also can be, when I was saying like do a little sway, but you don't want to be too much, because it's just, oh my gosh, you're getting sick to your stomach in the. But is that answer a little of your questions?
Yeah, it does.
Question there? Yeah.
And I had another question about, so we are playing a transcription of a piece that was arranged for strings based on an instrument that can't do vibrato and is actually very like, many of the movements on that African instrument would be like the opposite of idiosyncratic towards string instruments, right? So how do you go, is there like a general method for something like determining how much vibrato you should use in a piece like this? Because for me, so I compose a lot of music that is in like just intonation where we don't use vibrato because it obscures the pitch, but sometimes I want that expressive color for, even if it obscures the pitch. So like trying to do like minimal vibrato but still do it tastefully. If you have any kind of like sort of guidelines that you personally follow, that would help me.
It's about, it's very interesting because realizing it is a transcription, and I know like the Lassana, he can't use vibrato, but he can hit something and make it ring, and or tremolo or something, and so, but realizing it's a transcription and realizing you want your instrument to sound the best, but you also don't want it to sound too Western, in a way. But also, like there's the viola movement, which is the first movement, has a big thing. But I play with a lot of vibrato because I want the da 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 da, but it's da 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 da. It isn't that kind of thing, but it's da 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 because it's da 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 dee dee da 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 dee. Just a little tasteful vibrato always helps, I think, to help it ring. And that's, I think, part of the, like when you're in a hall, you want it to sound a little more, because the balafone is going to ring anyway, and your instrument, if you don't ring, you lengthen it so that it can sound similar to what the balafone is. But it's a matter of interpretation too. You choose those things. When we first started doing, we played very, very romantically the work, but then we went back and re-recorded it, and I don't think it's been out yet on the streaming, and we played it a little more true to what Lassana wanted. So it's a lot more flourish and virtuosic in what he did. So I think we changed our approach at one point because we got so used to playing it very romantically. So it's very interesting, but I think one of the things I found about this work is just the word is charming and effervescent, and that's the instrument itself is that way. And if one can get that quality and then choose how you play to get that quality, I think that's successful. I was one of my teachers. How Bach is interpreted so many different ways, and he always felt like Bach was like a cat. You threw it up in the air and it always lands on its feet. There's many, many different ways you can interpret things, and it can be successful. And you have your preferences of which way you want. But as long as you commit to those as a group, the integrity of your interpretation, I think it can work.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. you guys have any questions? I don't.
3 minutes.
How do you achieve like a cohesive like ensemble sound?
That takes many. Well, it takes a lot of thought, and then it's also what we measure our bows and follow each other's bows to try to match that, and we even match our vibratos, you know, and following one person, you know, but we can see it. We can't. You guys can't show your vibrato that much, can you? Which is important. So I think it probably takes more practice in that, and you have to think about that, but or listen to it in that way. But I think it's just through practice, and if you think, oh, I really like the way Jack does this, let's all try to match that, you know, and then you work on matching that, or you know, just being each other's helper in finding a way that is cohesive, I think would work. I think we're more lucky. The strings are luckier because we have a physical thing that we can follow, and whereas you guys have to be more cerebral, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess
Does that make
yeah. So like for instance, you're talking about like the how far you move the bow. So like the velocity of the bow against the strings is to violin as like the breath on the reed is for us, which we can't really see, but it makes sense that like we would be able to tell each other like or our tone comes from that, you know, the velocity of the air over the reed. So it's kind of like maybe we can talk about that in a rehearsal, make our sounds sound similar.
It's also very interesting because we find that a lot of times it should be a very equal sound, but sometimes it's nice to have the bass a hair more so that you hear the pitch a little more in that regard, and you know, almost going up so the highest isn't the loudest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's rich, and then certain chords you want that inner voices to be more rich. So it depends on the character or the place in the music that you want those things to be more prominent. That's why I enjoyed the viola, because I really like the inner voice and how the viola sounds in chords. It's a very rich sound for me, and to be able to play with the cello and blend with that. And so, but you know, you all have, and I think every group has its own sound. And when you develop that, it's very, very interesting because then people will know you as your sound.
For sure. Yeah. Cool.
So I think our next group is ready. So I want to thank again the Architect Quartet and congratulate you on a stunning performance. All of you, I look forward to hearing the rest of it at some point. There's 4 other movements. So if anyone wants to hear the entire piece, it's on the Kronos website. So our next group is a string quartet.
Thanks, guys. I just wanted to say thank you, guys.
Yes, congratulations. Okay, so our next group is the Turquoise Quartet. And we are now moving from West Africa to China with music by Wu Man. So I'm going to allow Paris. First of all, if you guys could unmute, it looks like the quartet is muted. And then I would love it, Paris, if you could introduce all the players and the piece you're about to play.
Okay, so I'm Paris. This is Ruben, Veronika, and Aldo. And we're playing.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. You know, we're playing 2 Chinese paintings. The first one is Ancient Echo, and the second one is Silk and Bamboo by Ruben.
Great.
Should we play in a row or stop?
Oh, he disappeared.
I think he can still hear us.
Oh, sorry.
I can hear it.
Yes. He's there. I just unspotlighted him for the video.
Oh, so question. Would you like for us to play them both straight, like back to back, or would you like both movements, or would you like us to play one movement then stop and then?
Why don't you play them together? I mean, I like to hear them both. Great, thanks. That was fun. Thank you. Thank you very much. A few things to talk about. I liked, in general, I liked the phrasing of the first of your first movement. It was good. I wondered if you can think of it not in quarters or in beats like this, but in more the half bars. So it's a little more long phrased wise. And you go D da, but D da D D da D, just like that. My voice, of course, is not very good, but do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, good. Veronika, lovely. Can you play your pizzicatos more like Aldo, a little more ponticello, so it sounds a little more Chinese? Because you don't want this to become Western. You want it to sound in Chinese. And I like Aldo when you played the ponticello. I think there's also there's a grace to this movement. So don't not phrase, do phrase, and use your vibrato very sparingly, please. Think of something heavenly rather than being down and passionate, but just a little more. Maybe it needs to be softer, a little more bow. That could be. So Paris, think about that a little more, okay? Can we start that again, please? Good, 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 good. Good. It sounds good. It sounds good. Can you take it just one notch slower so it doesn't seem like it's moving ahead? You want it to be a little more still sounding. And also, when you have a long note, don't try to dee da 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 da, but let someone else come in. Robin, let her play the third and fourth beats a little more. So if you play it too hot, you're going to raise the level too much. So do the beginning and make just a little more weighty, a little more, a little slower, and I think you might get the what I'm after is the character. Sometimes a little too this way, but just sort of sit back in your chair a little more, let it happen. One more time. It sounds lovely. I'm not saying it doesn't sound good. It sounds good. And play more in the upper half of the bow. Good, 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 good. Good. So much better. It was a really beautiful feeling, really nice. It was excellent. Make sure, Paris, don't rush into A. Let that da, D, D start over. It isn't a pickup. I don't think it's a pickup. I think it's da, da, D, almost take a little bit of a breath before A, okay? But that was so nice. It was a lovely feeling. And then it allows the cello to be able to da-dee. The eighth notes don't sound rushed. This should always never sound rushed in this. It should sound very stately and ancient. One more time. It sounds really good. And a little more, Robin, on that second bar, please, at the end. Just a little more, okay? I do. Sorry, I want to point out something. Sorry, Paris. Can you? You're very good at cueing, but I'm wondering if it's the wrong character of a cue. I think you're worried about is being together, which is that's normal. But can you have more of a character cue that is like, think about the piece and then cue it in as if an actor is about to say something important, they would go like that, but they would think if they're going to do something profound, they would take a breath and it would be there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So relax and take a nice, okay? Good, 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 good. So, good. That was really nice. Did you feel? I think it was just beautiful, and that cue was perfect, I thought, and it really helped everybody play in that character. Paris, it was just lovely, really like nice, Robin. I like that, and the pizzicatos, Veronika, were much better. I like that. I think you could also give me a little more when you had the eights in the third bar. Just a little more, so we can know that you do that. Okay. Does that make sense? I'm sorry. Yeah, good. Now I thought everything was really good up until that point. So, but I want, and also anything that can make it sound more Chinese in A, da 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 dee da dee da dee da 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 dee da. That turn is maybe just like that, not a fingered, but maybe a slide. You might try something like that. But right when we got to B was a little too loud, Aldo. Can you play softer? It's really a hot part of your instrument. So, or maybe it's just the miking of what I hear. So just maybe flottando and use a harmonic up there. Don't try to play full, okay? You're going to be heard because of the register. Can we do maybe 2 bars before B? Is that good? Good, 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 good. So much. That's lovely. Aldo, make sure that you're never ahead of the beat. You're just a hair ahead of the beat when we started. So just let them feel you soar above what they're doing. Okay, don't try to control the beat. One more. Say this. Do the same thing. Maybe do 1 bar before. Okay. It's lovely. Really lovely.
1 bar before beat? Yes. Okay. I looked at 1 bar before the okay.
Good, 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 good. Aldo, can you think that you're playing in molasses so that it's never going to be, like it's sticky and you got to keep going. You're always going to be late. So just think that. I feel like sometimes you're just a hair on top of what, and the melody cannot sound like forward. It should sound a little back. Okay, let them control. Even just follow Veronika and just. Okay, one more time. Just start right on B for me, everybody. Very nice, very nice. Now, this doesn't mean that you should not phrase, or you're still phrasing, so keep that up. But I like this feeling so much, and that was great, Aldo. I thought it was lovely how you played that. And perhaps, Paris, a little more on the E, the end, the penultimate note. Dee da dee da da dee bum, and set the last note. I think that might be nice. And then it seems more ending wise. But let's go on because there's more to hear. Now, I was very fortunate in being able to be coached by Wuman personally about the tam tam, or the Chinese gong, and she chose the gong because there is, when you hit it a certain way, there is a bend to it. He goes boing, boing. So you hear the ding. So if you play in the center of the gong, oh, go ahead. So if you can put it in front and go this way, yeah, yeah, and now hit the center of it in the very center, yeah, right there. Go ahead. There you go. You hear that ding? Good. And what she does, it's all, if anybody's ever seen Chinese opera, Peking opera, this is always used in that kind of stuff, in their performances. And it's all really dramatic. And so when I do this, I stand up to be even more dramatic. And it's a solo. And so you're basically, making the announcement that everybody's going to come and hear us, or whatever. So you hold it up and you hit, and you do it like I would do this timing. I'll go bong, 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 bong. And I don't do the diminuendo or the delayed. I go out fortissimo. And then at the moment I have my stick ready and I go, ta-da. You see? So it's all about the drama of the beginning. So there's this announcement that you're out there, you're doing this, and then slowly, and then you get faster as you can get, and then you hit that. So have that stick ready to go. Maybe just sit on part of it so you can hit on it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. It sounds good. It's almost like if you're trying to make a statement, if you're playing a chord, bum, and you're doing that, at the end, there's no drama, but you go bum, bum. You see, there's a stillness, and you have the spotlight, and if you start going like this, you're losing the drama of it all. So be still, go bum. Okay. Good. That was fun. It's getting better. And you hear, sometimes I hear it, maybe it's just because of the video or the Zoom, but sometimes I hear the dip, and that's what you want to strive for all the time. The boing, boing. That's the interesting thing about that. But if it's just a ga, that isn't as good. So find out where it is. Also, what I do is if you hold it could you hold the gong up? And I think I hold it, I don't hold it with the string, I hold the edge of it, the very top, just like this. Yes, see if that works. Play it and see it. No, you have more control because then it's not going around. Good. And if you can hold it high so people can see it, you know? Yes. But no, you want to, but you turn it around so you hit the right thing. You can, yeah. Good. That was much nicer. And also, if you can think of, you're doing a diminuendo to the end, and you should not. You should be going out the door. And if you do slow down, just play those last ones really loud, okay? Because you want it to go into the wood block, and it sounds like it's doing this, even though it does say fortissimo all the way in. So do that, and also make sure that it's a steady crescendo. It all of a sudden took off. You would bum, and then you went almost dum, dum, dum. You went like that, but it's just every note is just a little faster, so it's all just steady. Okay, and then also you guys don't play close to the frog. Play more in the upper half, saying like you can't get off the string. Like I'm not that it's like almost like fiddle music, but it isn't. But it's there. It's sort of gluey. Okay. Da 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 da. Okay. Want to do a little more? Louder.
Yes. It's not
What?
not responding to me all the time, but I have to like get it right in the where it likes to sound. It's really strange because
Yeah, just make sure that you don't do a diminuendo. You want it to go out the door. I mean, it doesn't have to be fast out the door, but just loud out the door, okay? But I think the bending, you understand how to get it, right?
Yeah.
Good. Let's go on because we have more to do, and you'll have it at the end as well. So, and make sure, Paris, you don't cue until he's ready, at the beginning, right here at the leisurely.
For the third mission.
Okay.
So just make sure you're together on the second bar.
Okay.
So I already did the pound. Okay.
Good. So Aldo, it's very nice. I mean, it's a giant effort. I wonder if when you do your fluid block, it seems like there's no cue. It's almost like you are the conductor in this. So if the wood block can maybe be a little higher so people can see your motion, that might be better. But never, I don't know if I can't see even because the monkey is in the way. but if you do the when you do, what's that?
The wood block is on the monkey.
Oh, I see. Then that's I see that, right. He's holding it for you. Okay. Now when you do the thing, do you let it release like bomb? I feel like you're holding it down. Let me see.
Yes. I was doing this, but I can do this. Well, I guess not like that.
I think it's better the resonance. The resonance is much better. But I think also what I would do it is when you get the cue, so there's always that 4 going into 1. So everybody can see that 4 and they can play into the downbeat. Does that make sense? It's going to help everybody be really together. Could you do that? So think of the tempo of what's going to happen and then cue. Okay. So sorry. So it's ba-dum and then ba-da-da-da. Good. Sorry to interrupt. That was much better. Make sure there's a release to it too. I feel like you're still holding it down. I think it should be a nice resonance, but much better. And also, if there is the wood block is on something that is not muting it, like I think it's on a platform now or something, right? And it might even be better in your hand, like that.
Oh,
Yeah, you want it to resound a little, and then you have the ability to make it crescendos, or it isn't all going to be one dynamic, but it'd be more resonant. Paris, it was much better. It's great on the string. If you can be, even when the cello has the pizzicato, which is really good now, if you can be a little more long in your feeling, let's see, where is that? Right when, tell me where you are in the pizzicato. Oh, the pizzicato is at 22. So when you have that, it's contrasting to the cello. Don't play short like the cello. Play articulate but long. Does that make sense? So write it A when you do that. Can you just do A? How are we doing on time? Are we good? Oh no. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have another 10 minutes.
Okay, good. Good. Aldo, this is another thing is there's what I was told by Wuman is that you don't want to lose the audience. You know, if there's a big hole there, and so as soon as you da da dee bum bum dee da da dee dee da, do something ad lib with ba 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 da be ba 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 dee ba be ba be ba, then go be ba 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 be ba. Again, do you see what I'm saying? And what I do, I place the two different wood blocks close to each other, and I use one mallet going back and forth. Da da dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da. Can you try that? See if that works for you. They can be on the stand, but just be close together so there's a space between, so you can hit them, and it's like going in between like this. You see? There. Yes, that's the sound. You want it to be so fast and like this, and then ba-bum at the end. Again, to sum it up, one more time. So like they just da da de bum bum dee. Do that very end, the 61.
61. 60.
60, sure.
60, okay.
Da da dee da 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 da. Good. Aldo, that was so much better, something like that. But get off the page. Don't even look at the page. It's all ad lib. So da da dee ba da dee da dee da da dee. Then go da dee 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 ba da. And that da dum is part of that, not a new thing, not the da dum, and then there's a breath. Okay. So something similar to that. You want to try it again? Good. Sorry. This happened before, and I think it's okay. Don't be so literal. If it's got da dee da dee da dee da 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 da, it's like that. Don't think of the faster, because you're gonna each time it's going to get even faster. Even be on the slower side in the beginning, so the faster part is really fast at the end. It sounds faster. So be with Paris in her feeling, and it's also the way you're doing it. You're not feeling it in your body. And you go dum dee dum 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 dee dum 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 dum. So you're the conductor here. So you have to be more showy in how you're doing it, but you also have to be playing with the rest of the group. You can't be on your own. You have to follow what's going on. Incidentally, Paris, that was so much better before. That was very lyrical and really cool. I really like that when it's on the string, when you're doing that. Excellent. And anything that can sound more Chinese and the turns and all that stuff. Also, Robin, when you go up high, treacherous. Well done, but don't stay up there. Come down on the E string, because it's really tricky up there, going over from the B, ending on the B, I believe. Do you see where that is? So come down. It's all your solo, but don't stay up there because that's really too high up there to make sound in tune. But come back onto the E. And then I just want to clarify, I know we don't have much time. At the end, again, Aldo, this Chinese gong, it just says play the Chinese gong at the end. But at the end, when everybody's doing the tremolo, 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 I go ding, 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 ba-bum. I stand up at the end like I started at the beginning, and it's much more dramatic. And it's also the crescendo with the gong. You're helping the tremolo happen. You go bum, 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 bum. Do the tremolo at the end, everybody, at 111. And Aldo, watch me, look at me, and go ahead, play, and I'll try to imitate what to do. Okay, go ahead, tremolo. There you go. Good. Something, and you have to cue the end. Okay, that I think will help them do the tremolo. And then make sure that in every tempo change that you guys are real together. You have to lead with everybody. And that's just something you need to practice. But so that gives you an idea. I think we're out of time though, aren't we? Hello?
Yeah. Well, we have 3 more minutes if you'd like to continue.
Oh, that would be lovely. Can we take it from the where you start the faster after the cadenza of the woodblock, please? And in Paris and Robin, everybody, make sure that you're very in a good groove. Dee da da dee da 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 da. Feel it even in your body. Help Aldo play his part in a way in the beginning, so you get it all together. Okay?
No, it's thirdly.
Yeah, faster.
It's better. It's better. It's a little on the slow side. Can you do it a little faster?
Yes.
Good. I would try to work it up, and then where the accelerators happen, just have a bit of a lean, and then finally get to that tempo and stay steady. Then another lean. Okay. Do you want to do the same place? Start right at 64, the third beat, please. Da, da. Much better, much better. And also, I enjoyed, Aldo, you're doing much more character in your beating the woodblock. If you have any chance at all to watch Wuman play, she's an artist beyond compare. She's amazing. And she shows her character so beautifully in how she plays. And she would do that. She'd be joyous. You'd have to smile in watching her because it's that she's so infectious. And that's what you want to get, that kind of character given to the audience. And everyone should do that. But that was so much more together. Excellent. It was really fun, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Did you have any questions?
It was interesting having the Chinese style of sliding on the note and then returning to the note, and also the pizzicato at the bridge. I'd never done that before. It really changes the sound and gets a lot of
Yeah,
rock
yeah.
here too.
Yeah, it changes continents.
Yeah.
Very good. Good. And don't be afraid to show your emotion and the phrasing you're doing. Don't be shy, because that helps. It's wonderful for the audience to understand physically where you're going in the phrase and also character-wise, not just in how you sound, but also in how you move. That will help as well. Excellent job. I really enjoyed this, you guys.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to say a big round of applause for Paris, Robin, Veronika, and Aldo. And thank you so much for playing and putting so much time into learning this new piece. And I hope you do it in a concert sometime. And I can come and hear you guys. So thanks again for doing this. And I now would like to start the official Q&A. So I'm going to take the quartet out of the spotlight and I'm going to bring in John. And this is, if anyone now in the Zoom room, if anyone has any questions, please raise your Zoom hand or alert me through the chat and ask your questions to John and Hank. But also, if you have questions for any of the players, we still have the Architect Quartet, the Saxophone Quartet is still here. You can ask the Turquoise Quartet, who you just heard some questions about their process, and also most of the members of the Kidjo Quartet. I know that Peter and Evan at least are still here, so feel free to ask them questions as well. So do we have any questions from the audience? If not, I can start. Let's see, is there anything in the chat? Not yet. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to break the ice by asking my own question. I just want to ask both of you, Hank and John, about Kronos Quartet's long history of expanding the string quartet repertoire through collaborations with and commissions of composers from non-classical traditions. It was very interesting to me today that all three participants chose pieces in that style that actually all happened to be arrangements. The two West African pieces were arranged by Jacob Garchik, who's a jazz trombonist here in New York City. And I noticed that the Wuman was realized by Danny Clay. So if you want to maybe say a couple words about the philosophy of doing that, and also I'm curious how you come about finding this repertoire. Like, I know with Wuman that you've played with her because of Ghost Opera and a number of other traditions, but I'd be very curious to know some of the other musicians, how you heard about them, how you met them. Did you commission them and then hire Jacob to make the arrangement, or vice versa? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that process.
You know, sometimes the process can be quite simple. And basically one of the ideas is, you know, with all of the traveling that we've done all throughout these years, you know, you meet other musicians, obviously, from different parts of the world, and you get fascinated when you hear their music, and you want to become part of that too, because it really, it becomes very special to you. And, you know, so I would say, you know, the traveling aspect was kind of a opened up your ears a little bit. And yeah.
I wanted to add, in the case of Wuman and Lassana, you had mentioned that we had played with them actually, and we played with Lassana and Trio de Kali, and we did a recording of him. And then that's where we asked him, "Oh, do you have something that we could play for us? I mean, can you compose something for us?" And so that was just a one-on-one. We found that just incredible. And then we had been working with Jake. Jacob is like an incredible arranger. And I want to say arrangements are very, very difficult to do. They sometimes can just fall flat. You have to understand the original source material, but you also have to understand the quartet of what you're arranging to, or whatever arrangements form you're trying to make it. But you have to understand both forms really well and understand how the character is to each, and to make that happen well. And so Jacob is very good at that. Of course, he knows our playing too, and he knows how what can sound good. Danny is a local guy here in San Francisco. He's a marvelous, and he worked with Wuman and developing the pieces. And so we knew Danny from other instances as well. But a lot of times we get an arrangement and it's okay, but it doesn't quite make it. It's trying to be true to the original, but it doesn't work for the quartet. So it's very special when you find someone who actually gets both mediums and can marry them very well. Also, we had the wonderful experience of being able to play with each of those performers, Lassana and Wuman, which were incredible. Lassana, we played his piece totally with him, and it was verbatim, note for note. So it was all in his mind, but he played it. He didn't change anything. And so it was almost Jacob had written down everything that he had written. And then, of course, Wuman is an incredible artist in herself, as I was just saying to this past quartet, that her artistry is so apparent on stage, and so wonderful to play with her, and artistically as well as musically, and to follow what she had intended. And so those helped make us interpret her piece better and well.
Excellent. I got a message in the chat from just a violist named Walton. So violist named Walton, actually, I don't know your real name, but unless it's Walton, do you want to unmute and put your video on and you can ask your question? If not, I know we have a question from the Turquoise Quartet. Let's start with the Turquoise Quartet. There you go. So the Turquoise Quartet. So you have a question.
It's unmuted.
Yes. So sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my question was related to what you asked actually, and it's very interesting to work with the composers directly to see like how they would approach working with string instruments, since these pieces are based in different global traditions, right? How would you advise people learning the pieces who are not going to be able to work with the composers to approach these pieces? Because we saw videos on your website and we watched other master classes.
We listened to how the ping pong is played traditionally.
We listened to the pipa. So is there anything else that you would recommend to try to emulate as much as possible the sounds and the character of music that we're playing from these series?
I mean, I would say, not only listen to other works of the composer, but, other works from that part of the world, where they live. There's a really fantastic app that's out there. And what it is, it's basically like radio stations, but it's radio stations from around the world. And, they have a picture of the globe, and you can, put the arrow somewhere in the Mideast. You can put the arrow somewhere in the Arctic. You can and you actually get their radio stations. And the radio stations often are playing music. And so you can kind of explore different sounds from around the globe. And if you do get a piece that maybe is from a certain area in Africa, you could get this app and actually go there and put the arrow by that particular country in Africa, and get more sense of what's going on there. Yeah. So lots of different ways to explore, especially now with the internet. It has opened up a lot of, for somebody who's curious, it's opened up a lot of avenues to explore things.
I appreciate that question. It's a wonderful question because we deal with that all the time. And John has always said, our rehearsals are like a laboratory, that we're experimenting with, how to make something sound, or to choose different ways to play something. What we've done lately, we've listened as a group to the source material, and then someone would play something. I think it sounds like this. The fingers, maybe the pizzicato is closer to the other fingers, or just trying out many different ways, and then coming to a realization or a resolve with the four of us, which sometimes is the strongest way because everybody agrees on how to do something. And that's very exciting. But ideally, as you said, it's wonderful to work with the composer because they can say, oh, I like that, or I don't like that, or can you try this? And that's marvelous because you get that fifth member to help you interpret and characterize what they're playing. And our website has lots of opportunities. The streaming of our piece, of the piece is there, but also sometimes the source material. Sometimes it's in other pieces, it's a tutorial on how to do certain techniques that are not common. And so it helps. Sometimes the composer is able to demonstrate. There is a piece by Garth Knox, which is incredible. It's great for string players, but he demonstrates on my instrument how to do stuff, and it's amazing what he can do. And he's developed these techniques. So it's very exciting to be able to understand what the composer is doing. And then, as John said, the internet is a great resource. And you can even find performances of the composer, perhaps, and understand the style of that composer. And that's marvelous.
We've also found through the years, too, that usually the way it works best for us is if when the composer comes in to work with us, that he or she almost becomes a fifth member of the quartet. And what that really means is that, we can make comments to them, they can make comments to us, and there's a real conversation going on. Well, does this really work? That I wouldn't be inhibited to tell a composer that. Does this really work? And I think a lot of performers, when they get a composer in the room, there is a certain inhibition to say, I don't think this really works. Is there something that, maybe we could demonstrate, or you could maybe change around a voice leading, something like that, that would make it work better, either technically or musically. And those are the situations that work best for us, when the composer really is like that fifth member of the quartet. And what a quartet does every day is you're getting comments from the other players. You're giving comments. You're taking criticism. You're giving criticism. And when it works that way with the composer, that's also terrific. Sometimes it doesn't, because what we found over the years, every composer is completely different, which is great, and that's what makes each of them so unique.
Wonderful. So I'm just a violist named Walton has fixed his settings. So would you like to unmute and put on your video?
Yes, hello. I hope you can hear me. I don't have a camera on my computer.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And yes, my name really is Walton. I'm very pleased with that. So my question is really an extension of what's already being talked about in exploring extended techniques. And I'm just really interested, especially as a violist, there's so much relevance to extended technique in contemporary repertoire, and I'm curious about some ways to target and explore extended technique, find out what's out there. I know you mentioned Garth Knox. I love his viola spaces. There's that absolutely wild Woodman concerto that shows some stuff that's out there. And then there's the cellist Mia Pixley and her ripple cello, and she does all this percussive stuff with it. What are the ways to sort of target finding
it's
out
interesting. Again, I would say check out every piece on 50 for the Future and all of the videos and all of the composers talking about the pieces, because you'll find a lot of new extended techniques for your particular instrument, that's going to be showcased in several different pieces. And there's another on YouTube. Somebody is downloading scores, and then they have a performance of the piece, and so you can follow the score along, and somebody's actually doing the 50 for the Future that way, so you can actually follow the score and hear our performance of it. It's really great, but it's not only the 50 for the Future pieces, it's many other composers are being showcased that way. And I find that a really great way. You actually follow that score, and then you hear the piece being played, and that's a really another great way to hear different extended techniques, and it's all contemporary pieces.
It's very interesting. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say
Oh,
something?
no, I was just saying awesome.
We play with a microphone on our bridge, and so sometimes we have our techniques can be a little more pronounced because they're mic closer. In fact, we're playing this now, working on a work. I mean, we've done it before, but we're playing a piece by Aruna Narayan, an Indian sarangi player, and so she asked the cellist to play like a tabla, basically. And so what we do, we put the microphone, place another microphone underneath the fingerboard, and then he or she taps the instrument in various ways to make it sound like a tabla, the different pitches and all that. And it's fascinating. It's an interesting way. It's completely, you wouldn't be able to do that normally without having that microphone there, because it picks that up. And then there's a piece by, I can't remember his first name, but Charlotte. He lives in Texas, and we play with pencils, on the string, and sort of like a what is it called, a clavicle, an instrument that you hit. Cembalo. And so it's very beautiful. Oh, it's just so gorgeous. But these are things that are asked to do us by the composer, that they do that. And so it's very, very interesting to see, to be able to understand what they are and develop that. Now, of course, again, we are mic'd, and that it picks up a little better. So I don't know, you might be able to do that without that, because you'd have to bang it a little more. But I think it's gorgeous. But I agree, Garth is an amazing innovator in his sounds. And I find them wonderful because even the way he does it, it trains you to know where the bow is and what you're doing in the sounding point in the way he has you play. He also has different techniques, the left hand to strengthen the left hand, but it sounds really cool. So even working on that, you get better and in playing other things because of what he's asked you to do.
I mean, that's really the great thing about 50 for the Future, is that, I always tell groups, whether younger groups or older groups, professional groups, beginning groups, that, if you tackle and you actually play all 50 of them, you're, technically as a technical exercise, you're just going to become a better instrumentalist. You're going to have more command of rhythm because you're going to encounter many rhythms that you've never encountered before. You're going to have more command of the fingerboard. You're going to have more command of your bow control. You know, it's very funny because some of the pieces we notice, some of the younger groups sometimes, you know, I think they pick maybe some pieces that on the page, they look quote unquote easy, you know, because maybe they're all long notes or something like that. And then, you know, they find out, I think, my gosh, it's very difficult to play a long held note. And it, you know, it requires a certain bow technique. And it's something that you really have to work on. And again, if you work on all of those technical challenges in the 50 for the future, you're going to get you're just going to become a much better musician and player on your instrument.
Excellent. I would like to call upon our next question from Duckett. Hello, Duckett. Could you please unmute?
Yes. Hello. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed the class. I think it's a fascinating partnership, a wonderful partnership. I wondered if the coaches could talk about what your experience is and what your feeling is about professionals mixing with amateurs. I think it's wonderful, and it should happen more, of course. But if you could talk about your experience, and also, it seems that this project would benefit young music majors at universities or schools of music. Have you thought about extending it so they have this experience also?
You know, it's interesting. The university that I went to, it was the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. You know, it actually had a fantastic music department, really, really great. And, you know, a lot of ballet going on, theater, you know, it was interesting. But I think what it was most known for, that particular university, is that it had the oldest student population. And, you know, that was really wonderful because I remember in some of my classes, you know, there were some people who were retired, you know, who took classes. There were older people taking classes, and you know, they kept the professors, sometimes these younger professors, in line. You know, they had you know, if they disagreed with something, the hand would go up and they could explain themselves very well why they disagreed, and they had no inhibitions doing that. And I think it was that aspect that was a great learning experience for the younger students. You know, here's somebody in the classroom questioning the teacher. You know, sometimes that's good, obviously, sometimes that's not, because the teacher should have a lot to offer. But it was known as the oldest student population in the country. And also, you know, I did in the summers the old Fine Arts Quartet, fantastic group of players and people. They had a summer clinic every summer, and I would always do that when I was in late high school and also early in college. And I remember being in groups with people who were in their 50s. And, you know, that was really terrific. And they would get players who were in the symphony who would come and do their summer clinic. And so you'd kind of mingle with players who already were professionals, and then they would play. And so there was all a really beautiful mix of ages. It was fantastic. And I think that's important.
We occasionally coach groups in around the country or even around the world. We were just in Australia and Perth, I believe. We coached some young quartets, and then at the end of the 3 days we coached them, they joined us on stage and we played the Philip Glass piece, Quartet Zatz, which is part of the 50 for the Future, which is a gem of a work, and it works so beautifully as a string ensemble work, not just a quartet. And it's always brings down the house because it's just gorgeous. I think it's also important. I think music or performing is a lot like tennis. If you play with someone better, it sort of raises your game. You know, you play so much better than you were thought that you could play. And that's why, and me mentioning playing with Wuman, oh, she's a great artist. And I always learn something from her when I play with her. And it's the same thing when I was younger and just starting out, and I played with people so much far above me. And it was a great inspiration, and it made me play better than I thought I could. So I think it's really true. I think it's very good to have that mix of players, quality or levels, and it helps everybody involved.
Also,
Thank you.
I think too, when a younger player plays with an older amateur, you know, who's maybe even retired, but in a completely different field, you know, maybe they spent their life being a doctor. You know, many doctors are played instruments when they were younger, and that quite many of them are incredibly talented, and they're still very good. But you know, a student who's maybe a music major in college playing with somebody who spent his whole life or her life being a doctor, it's you know, there's a different type of communication going on within the group, because the doctor will you know, at one point mention something about being a doctor, and that just opens up so much for somebody who's been kind of centered in music to hear somebody talk about another discipline. And you find that, you know, to master one discipline as opposed to another, there are great similarities. And it's almost, once you know what those similarities are, it's easier to master something, because there's kind of like a common denominator.
Thank you. Those were beautiful answers. I appreciate it.
Oh, great, thanks.
We have two more questions, actually both from participants who played. So I'd like to first call on the our saxophonists, the Architect Quartet, to ask their question. Here we are. How do I? Good. There we go. Please unmute, and then I can put you in there. There you go. So we have the Architect Quartet still here with us from Florida.
Yeah, so it's a little different because we're a saxophone quartet, but a lot of our playing is like in academic spaces, so like saxophone conferences or university conferences. And I was just wondering if you have any advice on kind of breaking out of like the academia sphere and entering more into like the...
Well, you know, it's very interesting. When I first joined the quartet, a long time ago, I won't say the year, but it was many years ago, we played at Ghirardelli Square on the street. And what we would do is we would practice 7 hours a day, and then we go down and play one evening of the week and just play what we've been practicing. And it was kind of exciting because the audience wasn't necessarily, they weren't captive. They came to listen. You know, passerbys would come and hear. And we also played in a restaurant. You know, this is just trying out our repertoire and trying out our what we had practiced. And I think that's very, very important to just keep playing. And so finding different venues. I know there's lots of coffee shops that in around San Francisco that, you know, have artists that play for a period, and I think it's good to just play and expose yourself to many different kinds of people, and then that builds an audience actually. And so when you do put on a concert somewhere that's maybe not an academia but in a hall, all those people that you had played for before will possibly come hear you.
Also, I think it's great that you want to expand. You know, I think that's really wonderful. I mean, you know, there's so many places you can play that can really make an incredible impact. I mean, even if there's like 5 people there, you know, hospitals, you know, to play for somebody who's maybe quite ill, you know, a children's hospital, you know, that's something I actually wish I would do more of, because you're really, you know, there'll be one a couple of those kids that you play for that it's going to be a very moving experience for not only them but also for you as a player, and it's something that you'll remember that as a player, and it'll affect how you emote on your instrument. And so keep always looking, as Hank was saying, keep looking for different venues, and more importantly, places where you can, really move somebody, make an impact on somebody's life. And I would say explore hospitals. I know certain hospitals and children's places, they're looking to have people come in and play for these kids. Yeah.
We had a long time ago, we had a grant to play in confined places where people couldn't get to. So all of a sudden we got onto the prison circuit. So we started playing in prisons, which is fascinating. And of course, there's all kinds of stories about that. But we also ended up in a psychiatric ward and for kids. And it was really a wonderful experience in that we played, and right when the ending of a piece that we played that was clear, it was in the end, they started clapping before it was even over. And to have that enthusiasm was marvelous, to be appreciated in that way. But it just showed that they were listening and they knew something was happening, and they responded right away without any qualms of oversight. So it was just marvelous to have that. And but I think, as John said, it's very important to play. You can play 80 concerts, a year, and you just find those places to play. And of course, academia is good too, but just expand, find ways to find places that you, and even approaching halls that have a dead night. You might be able to start something or play in the lobby of already a concert hall, like afterwards or something. That always is. The Toronto Symphony did that, which I think really at the point where the symphonies were having a lot of trouble, they had this showcase of playing concerts after the concert. So it made it a party for people to come and enjoy the whole evening. And I thought that was very, very interesting. So there's creative ways to find things to do.
I remember one of the most moving experiences I had is that we played for kids who had hearing impairment. And I think some of them were just getting a new type of hearing aid that they had just developed. This was, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago. And at that time, this new type of equipment, the hearing aid that they had, was just kind of coming out. And so some of these kids were hearing sounds that they had never heard before. And yeah, it was really special for me as a player.
Well, thank you for asking that question. I'd like to call on Jonathan, Jonathan Wang, who played in the Kidjo Quartet, has a question for Kronos.
Yeah, first off, thanks for doing this. It was a really educational and interesting experience for me and the rest of our group. I noticed that a number of the 50 for the Future pieces are sort of arrangements or based on popular songs or from popular artists. Curious if that was a conscious decision, and whether that was meant to sort of expand access or expand the audience, or it's just artists that you happen to admire.
Here's a funny story. I don't know if it answers specifically the 50 for the Future question, but we actually have an arrangement that was done, I think it was about 1980 of the Rite of Spring. So it's basically, and we played it a couple times. There's a recording of it too, but it's for quartet and piano. And people wondering, well, why, why did you do this? And it was actually David's idea. And again, it was very simple. David had heard at that time that orchestras, this is back in the 80s, that orchestras may never happen. They were full. A lot of them were going to fold. And there may not, that it's a dinosaur. There may be no more orchestras. That was kind of the talk back then. And he heard that and he thought to himself, I've never played the Rite of Spring. And, I've never played the Rite of Spring with an orchestra either. And, that's not really great as a musician. It's a great experience. I wish I played the Rite of Spring with an orchestra, but I've been busy doing other things. And so David said, well, let's just get an arrangement for it. And it's the entire piece. It's the full length piece. And I think it works beautifully, actually. It's kind of like, it feels like a skeleton version of this amazing work. But I got to sink my teeth and really learn all about this particular piece by doing this quote unquote arrangement of it. And sometimes there's a very simple idea behind something, and that was for the Rite of Spring. And I'm sure for some of the 50 for the Future arrangements, it came from something like that. Oh, I wish I could play this, and the only way I can is get an arrangement of it.
Well, a lot of
And
the other, also we have a
hopefully it
lot of
works. Yeah.
we have a lot of cover tunes that we've done, and I think it's what John said, that we really wanted to play that piece, and in maybe the style of Janis Joplin, Summertime, or Jimi Hendrix, Purple Haze, or something like that. But being amplified, we were able to sound like guitars or electric guitars, or to have the gravelly sound of Janis Joplin, or even Nina Simone. We have a piece that is gorgeous that she had sung, and so it's because we admire the original so much, we would like to have our stamp put on that as well. So I think that was part of the reason.
And of course, it is taking a chance, because there are people who obviously are going to say, "Well, this isn't as good as Janis Joplin," I can understand somebody saying that, but from a very personal reason, I enjoy playing it. It can be just like that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. So we have one final question. Again, it's from our violist named Walton. And a very interesting question she put in the chat. Walton, are you still there?
Yep.
Yes. Would you like to ask the question you typed in the chat?
Yeah, for sure. I was curious if there were any plans to put together a syllabus or guide for the 50 for the Future library, for students and musicians to kind of like target skills from a certain direction, or if it's best to just kind of jump in and try a little bit of all of them.
We had thought about that. I hesitate to say grading, but make it more playable to harder techniques, so it'd be more, so people wouldn't have to wade through so much and just be able to say, oh, this is my level, I can do this, or this is it could be listed as a very difficult level, maybe professionals or almost professionals should do that. And I think something is coming. We're trying not to dissuade people, because sometimes players are really good at one thing and perhaps not at another. And so it all, like one of the things I think is very interesting is the Diabaté that I coached, the saxophone quartet. There are 4 movements and there are solos for each one of the quartet members. So if you have a very strong second violinist, it's a wonderful movement there, and you can take it out of concert. You can play that piece. Or the cellist has a really beautiful solo, and so if you have a strong cellist that can do that. But I think it's, as John said, it's wonderful just to listen to many things and see what's out there. But also I think there will be some type of guide to help people and actually educators, because hopefully they'll be able to teach these pieces as well.
Yeah, it's kind of what Hank was saying. I think 50 for the Future, just because all 50 pieces are now recorded and they're out there and available, it still is evolving for us. And that's what I really like about this project is, evolving, and just what you were asking about, maybe different ways to have people understand the pieces. And and but also evolving in different ways to find more people to know about these pieces, because the more the merrier. I think it would be great for a lot of people to become really involved with these pieces. So, yeah, we're still thinking about it, even though it's quote unquote kind of finished. Yeah.
And what I'd also like to add that, in my coaching different ensembles, I come to it like there was a Toronto um, young quartet that played something and they played it so well, and it's like I could never do that at my age when I was that old, and it was like, that's incredible. And plus they had a fresh idea about it. They didn't play it exactly the way we did it, which is marvelous about music. It should be fluid and it should evolve. So it doesn't have to be exactly like what we do. And that's the great thing about music, is that it can be interpreted many different ways. And so that's been a joy for me to be able to hear the different ways things can be changed and played and characterized.
And I'd say what we've been finding throughout all the years that I've been in the quartet, especially when we go places and coach, man, the level of playing, as Hank said, I mean, I could have never done. Sometimes I go to a university and I hear these young university kids or even high school kids play these pieces, and I could have never done that. The level of playing and understanding rhythmic complexities and technical issues. It's really just going way, way up. It'll be, interesting to see, if that trajectory still goes up, or if it won't. But it's where it is now is quite amazing. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. A very, very special thanks to Hank and John from Kronos Quartet for spending your time with us today and sharing your experiences and expertise with this amazing body of repertoire. Again, I want to encourage you to explore the 50 for the Future site. I would love to create an ACMP challenge and see if anyone's going to learn all 50. That would be
Yeah, there should be. Yeah. You get a gold star.
exactly.
Yeah,
I also want to say thank you,
I
John.
just want to.
Sorry. Yes.
I just want to add one more thing. We're about to go to Amsterdam, and we're doing this festival. It's a Biennale Quartet Festival where all 50 pieces will be shown or played during a weekend with many different groups. We're going to play twice. And that is very exciting for me to actually see this and happen and the different groups to interpret it and see how it goes over. I think that's going to be exciting.
Hank,
what's the name of the festival again, please?
It's called I think it's called the Biennale Festival in Amsterdam.
Biennale, okay. Biennale.
I think it's Biennale, and it's for quartet. And so it's actually in May, as soon as our first trip out, I think is the first week or second week.
Well, we should check to see if that's live streamed, and if it is, I will share the link with everyone that registered for this class and who's a member of ACMP. And so the last thing I want to do is also just remind people, actually, John, you said something really lovely about amateur musicians and the importance of amateurs in the chamber music world, and how much professionals and amateurs can gain from playing with each other and interacting on a musical level. That is the core mission of Associated Chamber Music Players, ACMP. So I really hope also after you've spent time in the 50 for the Future library, you can check out acmp.net. That's our website, and look up all the interesting things that we're doing and all the services that we're providing for helping connect players with one another and share information about chamber music events of all kinds to amateurs and professionals alike. So I really encourage you to check out ACMP. And also join us and join our email list, and you'll continue to be advised of all the similar activities, such as this Kronos class today that we're presenting. So again, thank you so much, John and Hank, and all of you for coming. And I hope we get to do this again sometime soon.